Hi there, and welcome to another episode of the Gym Owner's Guide to the Galaxy. I'm John Rugy.
And I'm Matt Sharp. Today we'll speak with Phil Stern, Head of Sales at Zen Planner. Zen Planner provides client management software for thousands of gyms, boxes, and fitness studios. Phil didn't start out in sales, but within a few years worked his way up to leading his very own sales team. Today he's going to share his advice for gym owners on how to convert leads into members.
Phil, thanks for speaking with us today. We've met a few months ago and have exchanged kind of sales notes on and off. And like I said, I appreciate you talking with us today. And could you start out by talking about, how you got into sales and kind of what you're working on now?
Sure, absolutely. So sales was not my first career path at all. In fact, what I really always did and still always do is I wanted to be a coach. And so when I first left college, I became a teacher, of all things. I was a math teacher. And from there, I moved into a corporate job and started figuring out that the only way for me to get back to what I was doing, which was coaching students in math, was to actually start to coach prospects on the things that they need for their business, and then coach the teams that I started to manage in sales on how to be better sellers, how to better engage with our prospects. And so for me, it's always been about trying to get back to being a coach of people, which is what I've always really, really enjoyed doing.
And what are you working on now?
So right now I work for Zen Planner. We are a member management software company based in Denver, Colorado, with about 4,000 customers at this point, and a really, really great business management tool for the gym owner.
So one of the things we wanted to really learn from you today was just what are some of the basic kind of lead nurturing tactics you can share? Because like you said, you didn't start in sales, so you kind of came in as an outsider and you worked your way through, and now you're leading sales at Zen Planner. What are some of the kind of basic fundamentals of leads, nurturing leads, getting people to sign up that you can kind of share with some gym owners today?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the first thing I would say related to that is know where your leads are coming from. All of your lead sources, they're going to have a different, for lack of a better term, close rate for you. So your referral leads are going to be some of the best leads that you can possibly get.
And by referral, you mean word of mouth, friends telling other friends, right?
Friends and family, people who know that a friend is going there, hear how much you like your gym, and they come in the front door. And that is the number one lead. It's certainly the number one lead for Zen Planner. When we get a gym owner who absolutely loves our software and they tell another business owner about it, that lead is very, very, very good for us. So knowing your lead source, did it come in from social? Was it a referral? Was it an organic web traffic? Is it an ad you may have placed somewhere? All these things are going to have different close rates for you. They're going to produce a different sort of quality of prospect, and you really want to know your lead source. So after that.
So real quick, before you on the next step, so that sounds really promising, but if I'm very new to this and I want to track where people are coming from, but I don't know how. What are some easy ways to do that?
Well, you can start as simple as Excel spreadsheet, and as that person comes in, you can capture, hey, how did you hear about us? And, most of us who have filled out a web form recently, that has been an option. That company wants to know, where did you come from? Were you a Google click? Were you a newspaper ad? Were you a referral?
A lot of times you can ask that question on their waiver, or some sort of entry form you guys have.
Right, so you capture that information as they come in the door, and then either you can be, again, as simple as track that, pen and paper, Excel sheet type stuff, or you can use a system like Zen Planners to track all of your leads as well.
Okay, so go ahead.
I think after that, so I think the question, going back to your question, was really about how do you nurture. Going back to that, when you know your lead source and you know what type of interactions you've had with those types of leads in the past, it may be that a really warm lead, somebody like a referral, needs less of a formal nurture than, say, somebody who's coming in cold off the website and doesn't know much about your gym. So a very warm lead, they need to have a very personal experience when they walk in the front door of your gym, right? They want to be treated as if they're the gym member who referred them, right? Somebody who's been there working out for a while, they really feel the warmth of the community right when they walk in. But that may be all they need, right? As long as that first experience, that first impression is really good when they walk in, that may be all they need to come on over. They've got the friend who's referred them, they've got you giving a great experience, that's all they need.
You just need to make it easy for them.
Right, exactly. Yeah. The flip side of that is if you have a colder lead, somebody who Google searched gyms near me, they just moved to the area, they don't really know what they're looking for yet, they may not know if they want to do CrossFit or if they want to join a yoga studio and get a membership there, or just need some general fitness equipment around, that person probably needs a more formal nurture. And apart from, of course, providing a great experience when they walk in the front door of your gym, I recommend email or text message touches. And by touches, I mean the day after they come in, maybe they drop in and do a class with you, send them a thanks for visiting us email. A week later, if you haven't heard from them, send them a we miss you email. If they do provide their cell number and you guys are comfortable texting prospective members, send them a text. Say it was great to meet them. Remember something personal about them. Remember a goal they may have shared with you, because that's really how you're going to make them stick.
Matt, I know you use text quite a bit here at Sweat Angels. Can you talk a little bit more about how effective that's been? Because I think that's kind of overlooked by a lot of people. So I'm glad you brought that up, Phil.
Yeah, I think the way that we communicated, 5 years ago is very different than, the way we communicate now. And I think that the main thing for a business to understand is you want to communicate in the ways that the people that are coming in like to communicate. Some like to communicate through Facebook Messenger. Some love email. They don't want to talk to anybody. Some like text and they don't want to talk to anybody. But I think one of the key points we've learned is to have multiple points of entry and kind of be monitoring those and really love on that prospect in the way that they like to talk to you. So if somebody texts, then text them back, like talk to them that way. And we, like I said, like John said, we use text a lot. And I think that's just as a product of a lot of the owners that we work with are very busy, and a text is just an easier way for them to communicate because they don't have to stop what they're doing. And email, might take even more time than just answering a quick question on text. And I remember talking to one of the things I learned from one of the guys when we were visiting ZenPlanner, Drew was talking about how much success he has with owners on Facebook message. So as soon as he told me that, we started, reaching out to people through Facebook message, and we've seen great, success through that. And even at the gym at Maximus, we have a lot of members that our prospects will reach out through Facebook Messenger. Another thing is to make sure you have notifications set up for these points of entry, because there's nothing worse than somebody messaging you on Facebook and never hearing back, because they're not sure they would be inside. They'd be inside the gym. So they might be messaging you and 5 other gyms. And if you fail to respond, then you've really missed out the opportunity there. So
I completely agree with that. And I think, the only point I'd add on top of that is try to get to some level of consistency with how you're reaching back out. Have some principles in place there. So you don't want one prospect to come to you and they get 10 text messages in 2 weeks, and another to come to you and they get 1 because you get busy. You really have to set some standards in place. Think about how often you want to communicate and what you want those messages to say. And then if you're able to automate them, automate the responses and automate them, or at least have templates set up so you can more quickly send them and have them be very consistent.
One other thing is I think that I've seen has been important for us is to have an owner for those channels. Because if everybody is responsible for Facebook, then no one is responsible for Facebook, right? Or if everyone is responsible for responding by email, then no one is responsible. So it's been very important for us to say you're in charge of if somebody comes in through Facebook, or you're in charge of if somebody comes in through general info email. So
yeah. Go ahead.
No, and that's going to be true for any gym, right? Most of the fitness businesses out there, they might be a sole proprietorship, but they certainly have staff members, coaches, maybe even an admin at the front desk who's helping out. And you can really start to parcel out who owns which channel, who's better at engaging in which way. Maybe the head coach is better at engaging in person, and the admin is better at responding to the Facebook messages because the head coach is always there and present in the gym, and the admin is already at a computer, right? And so, make some smart choices about how you're assigning those out.
Yeah. You mentioned automation a moment ago, and one thing that we learned was that automation is great, but you don't want to start with automation too early, because you want some of those kind of handwritten messages back and forth to really learn what people respond to well, to figure out what you want to say. And over time, you can kind of find your voice and really figure out, what kinds of things you want to say consistently. But one thing I wanted to ask you on that was, what are some tools that gym owners might start with to help them with automation? Because that can be a big kind of scary thing if you're not real familiar with that.
Right, and again, it's an opportunity for a simple pitch of Zen Planner here, but of course we're not the only solution that provides this. It's really any tool that will allow you to manage your email communications with your potential customers. So that could be Infusionsoft, that could be Zen Planner, it could be another member management software tool, it could be another email management tool. Most of them are going to allow you to set up some sort of auto-generated email that will pull from a database or pull or allow you to enter names into it, and, into templated emails and send them out. But I agree with you. You don't want to just jump to automations. One of the things that I preach all the time to my sales reps is the sales process has to be personal. It doesn't need to appear personal. It has to be personal. We don't talk to prospects, in generalities. We don't talk to them about broad market. We talk to them about their business, their box, their gym, their studio. We want to know what they experience on a day-to-day, because that's the only way we know if we're a good fit for them.
And even more basic, some of the things we started out when we didn't have very much staff was we had Google Docs, and we would write out kind of the perfect email. And instead of having to rewrite that over and over and over and over again, we would kind of perfect that one email. We'd have it in a shared Google Doc for the staff. And then we could always copy and paste that in and put some relevant information for that person in. But it would allow us to have kind of a best practice, things that we've learned in that response. Because if you are writing the same thing over and over and over again, if you're responding to 50 emails a day, it's good to have some templates in there just to save you time so you can follow up with more people.
And to establish the voice that your gym is going to have, right? Some gyms want to have that real high level of competition. Some gyms want to be very welcoming to all different types of members. Whatever your voice is, it needs to come through in the emails, that perfect email that you were referencing, Matt.
When you were talking earlier about understanding the sources or channels that leads come from, what's your experience been in trying to manage multiple channels versus starting in one and doing that really well and then growing from there?
I think like anything, you have to, you can't try to, boil the ocean, so to speak. You can't do it all at once, right? It's just not going to work. I do think you need to, people should have a web presence. So everybody should have the opportunity for somebody to Google search them, go to a website, understand a little bit about their gym, and then fill out a form that says, I'd like more information, or I'd like to come in for a free trial. At this point, that's going to be table stakes for any fitness business out there, as well as Facebook. And the ability, again, to reach out via Facebook to the gym owner to tell them, I want to come in for a free class, or I want to get a little bit more information. But you're right. Do you need to worry right from day one about SEO and some of these other acronyms out there that get you to the very top of Google ranks and all that stuff? That's not a day one thing to do. And worrying about paid search and pay-per-click and all this digital display advertising stuff, that's not something that you should do on day one. Keep it simple right off the bat and be really good at what you're doing.
So let's talk about that one part real quick. So I think most people would understand that they have to have a website, but not everybody has a form on their page. So can you talk a little bit about like why that's important, and maybe some of the resources for setting up a form on the website?
So the reason why it's important is that if somebody's there and they're reviewing your business information and how you present yourself, and they like what they see, if you don't make it extremely simple for them to ask for information or to interact with you, you're missing out on an opportunity right there. And you don't want to miss out on opportunities. So embedding a simple lead capture form is how I would describe it. Maybe 4 or 5 questions max: name, email address, phone number, perhaps what type of activity they're interested in. Are they interested in CrossFit? Are they interested in CrossFit and gymnastics? Are they interested in yoga classes? Are they interested in yoga and aerials? Right? You can kind of understand a little bit about where they're coming from. And getting that information at this point is really, really critical, because when you follow up, you can reference that and you can start the conversation a step ahead, right? And you know who it is who's visiting your website.
And I've even seen on some of those forums, that's where they'll first capture, how did you hear about us? Mm-hmm. So it's when you follow up with them, if they say through a friend,
who's your friend?
Who's your friend?
Yeah, we want to say thank you, right?
Yeah.
And quick side point, very, very important for every gym to have a referral program. If one of your members refers somebody who becomes a member, there should be some sort of incentive, some sort of compensation, whether it's a half a month's dues off, or it's a free blender bottle, whatever it is. There should be something to incentivize other members to refer.
Yeah, at Maximus, it's a free month for every member that signs a contract.
Yeah, and then and I'm sure that really helps you guys get referrals too.
And some owners might think that's crazy. You're giving away a free month, but that new member coming in is worth thousands of dollars to us. Mm-hmm. And we also want to love on that member that brought them to us. So it's a great investment both ways for us.
It's same for us. We have a referral program at Zen Planner, and it's a really simple form on our website actually that sometimes we fill out for our referrals, or sometimes we have them they just come in through that way as well. And in fact, in our referral program, we will compensate both the new member who comes in off of the referral and the referee, the person who sent them to us. We compensate both.
So there's a big incentive on both sides for that.
Yeah.
And of course, that referred member, they're going to stay a lot longer because they already have a friend that works out there, right?
It always helps to have someone vouching for your business out there.
Yeah. Right. People want to work out with their friends, and through Maximus, and what I've learned is social media has been by far the best for us. And, Sweat Angels is really kind of how all that got started. And when somebody finds out that 2 or 3 of their friends works out at our place, there's just so much more incentive for them to come in. And then once they're in and they're connected, it's really hard for them to leave. So those referrals are they don't only get you better members, but they definitely help us keep those guys because they're instantly plugged in. They have a community waiting for them.
Yeah, it's a natural retention program, right? Yeah. If they leave, they're leaving their friends behind too, and they have to go work out somewhere else where they don't have that same support system. Yeah, I completely agree.
So one of the other things you talked about was, knowing where they come from. And then what was the second thing you were going to lead into?
So knowing where they come from is something you can capture in that lead form. And I think you asked me earlier, how do you embed a lead form? Where does that come from? And that can be something as simple as getting a site set up with Squarespace or one of those companies that sets up websites that include lead capture as part of it, or working with a member management software like Zen Planner that has the iframes to also embed within your website and allow you to do that. Nice part about us is anytime you do that, it's going to automatically enter that lead in our database and enter into a prospect program for you. But after that lead comes in, you have to know what to do with it. Right, so it's one thing to capture it, one thing to know where it comes from, and then it's one thing to be good at actually handling your leads when they come in. And this is really where the business owner, and this doesn't always come naturally for every fitness business owner, has to shift from being a trainer or a coach or an athlete to a salesperson. Because you have to know how to talk to them and get them to buy a membership with you. And the number one point I coach to here with my team is, it should be personal, and the prospect should be talking, right? The owner should be asking questions, not pitching their business, not showing off equipment, not talking about, maybe famous people who train there. They should be talking about that person's very specific and personal goals, and then talking about how they can work together to achieve those goals. Make that process, that conversation very, very personal.
Yeah, one of the things that we kind of try to instill in all of our coaches is first question is, why are you here? And then if they're here for fat loss, then we want to shape the rest of that conversation around how we can help you achieve that. If they're here to gain muscle, because the program will do all these things, but you really want to understand their motivation for being here and then build that entire kind of experience around that.
And I think you even go a step further on your website. You give people a choice about what their goal is as part of their registration or their kind of contact us form. So when they come in as a lead, you know right off the bat why they're there and what they're looking for.
Yeah, we want to provide resources for those that are coming for fat loss. We want to provide resources for those that are coming to just get in the best shape of their life, or if they train for other events like marathons or 5Ks. We can achieve all those things, but we really want to shape that message for that person because we will shape the program for that, but we want to give them a great experience, early on, like you were saying. When they come in, that's a huge opportunity, and you really need to get them talking and make them feel comfortable.
get them talking and help them understand their goals. I think a lot of people, if they haven't spent a lot of time either training or being an athlete, in their lives, fat loss or weight loss or strength gaining or adding muscle mass might be a goal, but they may not be the right goal. And the personal reason behind that goal isn't well understood, right? So if I walk in and I say, I want to lose weight, well, why? Take that a step further. Well, it's because my knees hurt. Well, okay, what does that limit you from doing? It means I can't go running with my son anymore. And that's a bummer because that's my personal time with him. And now I'm at the personal point of understanding that is a pain for that person. That I can help them solve that. I can change their life now if I can just help them lose some weight and rehab their knee, right? And if I didn't ask those other additional questions, if they walked in and said, I want to lose weight, and I said, great, jump on the elliptical for 40 minutes, we haven't gotten to the real heart of this, and I don't really know how to train them or work with them or what's going to make them feel success in my gym.
And there's ellipticals everywhere.
There are ellipticals
so you
everywhere.
haven't established yourself as anything different than anyone else. Yeah.
One of the principles that I'd like to ask you to talk a little bit more in detail about is the sales cycle, because for a lot of gym owners, that might be a new idea. And if you don't understand that, I think it can be very frustrating to not see people sign up right away when they come in from the website. So can you talk a little bit more about what the sales cycle is, how to measure that, and then how to cater your sales process to whatever that length is?
Sure. So, every business's sales cycle is different. That the cycle starts when a person shows interest in your business, whether they fill out a lead form or send you an email or call your business or walk in. And it ends when they sign up for a membership, right? That's your sales cycle. So, some businesses that's 2 weeks, some businesses that's 1 day, that's the first visit, and everything in between. And apart from just knowing how long your sales cycle is, knowing where people are within your sales cycle, and that does help with your lead sources. Now, like I was saying before, a referral might have a very quick sales cycle because their friend tells them how great your business is, and all they have to do is walk in the front door, get a warm greeting, and say, this is the place for me, right? Now, that's a very short sales cycle with a very, very small amount of effort required from the business owner, which is why referral leads are so valuable.
Well, you have the members, basically your co-salesman.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's why it's such a valuable channel. On the flip side, a colder lead coming in, that cycle needs a lot more attention. And to answer your question very directly, business owners should really think about it as a funnel. This is very, very common, way to think about it in the business world. It's not as common, of course, if you're a fitness business owner and you're more focused on training and coaching. The funnel starts, you're going to have a lot of prospects, people at the top of your funnel. And as you go down and as people start to, spend more time on your website or come and do a trial class or meet some of your coaches or meet some of your other members, you're going to lose a few people. And you shouldn't take that personally. But you're going to lose a few people. Your gym is not for every single type of athlete out there.
If you're not losing a few people, you're not casting a wide enough net, probably.
That and you're not weeding out the people who aren't a good fit for your business, right? Not every gym is right for every potential athlete out there, right? And so, then you lose a few members as they go through the process, or you lose a few prospects as they go through the process. You click down a level. They come in and, they do a 2-week trial with you, or they come in for the beginners Olympic lifting, introduction class, or they come in for fundamentals, whatever that might be. And you realize, hey, this person doesn't have a lot of experience here, and they're feeling a little out of place, and they might fall off at that point as well. And what you end up with,
a little bit of a disaster there.
You end up with, we're all safe. What you end up with is you end up with people at the bottom of the funnel who are a good fit. You've sort of mutually agreed through that sales process that you should continue your relationship. They don't walk in the front door. You're not putting the hard sell on them. You're allowing them to experience your gym. You're allowing them to experience you and your community, and you're kind of evaluating them to see if they're going to be a good member for you. And if they're still there at the bottom of that funnel, that's a member who's going to stick with you for a lot longer than others.
And measuring the drop-off at each of those points is really crucial, right? Because you can bring people through that funnel, and if they get to that trial, and you see 70% of people drop off at that trial, then that tells you that, hey, maybe my trial experience needs to be improved, right?
Yes, exactly. And so I think, every fitness business is going to be different, but if we take our lead form as an example, if somebody fills out that form and requests information, That's your first step. You're going to get a bunch of people at that step. And if some of them then follow up by coming in and, say, doing a 2-week free trial or a free trial class, you're going to get some portion of those people who come in and actually do the class, and then some smaller portion of those people are going to love the class and sign up for the membership. And knowing, first of all, what the steps are at each level in your specific gym's sales cycle is important. Then also knowing what your conversion rates are. How many people drop off between the free trial form and the free trial class? How many people drop off between the free trial class and the membership? Because that's gonna allow you to really plan effectively. Know how many members you're going to add. Know if you need to do more marketing. Know if you need to focus your marketing money maybe not so much on online spend and more on a referral program, etc.
And just to build that out, when you're saying spending more on marketing, that's increasing the top of the funnel.
Right.
Because if you only have 10 people in the funnel and you're converting 2% of those, it's going to be a lonely gym, right? So there's always optimization of the funnel, but it's also you have to make sure that you're getting enough people in the top as well.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So Matt, you've been in business, what, 5 years now?
Yeah.
Yeah. What are some of the major
What
are some of the major changes you've made in your sales process over time?
So I think the first thing that we really started doing that made a difference was we started documenting things. Most gym owners, especially small gym owners, everything is on the fly, and they don't write things down, or they don't document who's interested. They don't give that person an owner. And one of the earliest things we did that we saw success with was just literally create a Google Doc that had who's interested and then who owns that prospect. And this is, very rudimentary, but just that simple process of saying, Jake is interested. Our manager, Nathan Spitz, is going to be assigned to him. He's going to do an intro with him. And then we're going to track the conversion rate of how many of those people sign up. That alone made a huge difference for us. And over the years, I've looked for more and more ways to automate more and more things so that we're not spending time on things that we're not good at and that don't help us make money. So the things that we're really good at are one-on-ones and getting those guys to convert. The things that take up a lot of time are automated emails or reminder systems, things like that. Because if you don't have those things in place, and just to be a higher level, one of the things I try to talk to some of the owners we work with is, would you sign up for your gym? And if you wouldn't sign up for it, something's broke. Like if you go to the website and it's not enough to convince you, then it's definitely not going to convince anybody else, And if you need to be followed up with 5 or 6 times to sign up for something, then you need to be following up with prospects 5 or 6 times. So I think when you put yourself in the customer's shoes, it changes the way you look at those things. And by simply documenting where they're at and last point of contact, even some of that smaller stuff, it's been a huge change for us.
Cool. And it's super important to remember for every gym owner out there that they're not always the first impression. They're not always making the first impression on a prospect who's inbound. They have staff members. A lot of them are coaches, and so they may be off that day, or they may be, doing some admin in their office, etc. And somebody walks in, so they need to make sure that the message, that the way that they interact with people is very, very consistent. Right, and so that requires a tremendous amount of coaching. And to go back to the top of the show when I talked about why I really love being in sales, coaching is everything. Whether you're coaching a member on what kind of gym or what kind of activities or what kind of goals they should be developing, or whether you're coaching a staff member on how to interact and represent your brand to the community, the gym owner has to be a coach, not just to the athletes but to everybody.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that goes back to really understanding who your members are and who your leads are. And Matt, I know you've looked at a few Facebook pages, and I recall one where the cover photo or the profile picture let's just say it had a heavy kind of death metal theme. And you were talking to the owner, and you said, I think he was telling you, well, I don't get any women in here. I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong. Yeah. And you told him, well, let's look at your cover photo, and does this alienate women perhaps? So
yeah, a lot of that's really knowing your audience, knowing who you're speaking their language. So for instance, if you have a gym owner and I say, well, who are you guys trying to sign up? And they say soccer moms. So if we go to their Facebook page and their website and it's not set up for soccer moms, then they're completely missing the boat there. And a lot of our gyms, we really want to help and touch as many lives as we can. and a lot of those are just normal people. So we want to build a website that makes us very accessible and makes us a very safe place. So anytime we're off brand, it's bad for us. And one of the mistakes I see a lot of gym owners make is they'll build what they think is what somebody wants instead of what really somebody wants. And if they make, in John's example he's talking about, it was a very, very hardcore image, but he was trying to get, more women into the gym, and those two things don't mix very well. So, when we really said, all right, I told him, I was like, put yourself in that person's shoes. What would you want to see? And when he started, building the site and building the Facebook experience around that, things changed for him.
Yeah. So, do you have any tips for how to get to know your audience faster and better? Then, obviously, the individual meetings and discussions are great, but what are some ways gym owners can kind of see that in the aggregate?
Well, first of all, it's getting your current members to give you feedback and feel very comfortable, not just saying, I love this place is great, but to say, hey, I really wish you would tone this down or dial this up, right? Or, hey, that cover photo on the website is the reason why my friend didn't, stick around after the free trial. So making it a place that's very transparent in its communication, making it a place where whether it's your programming or your class schedule, you're open to feedback and you let that be very clear. Make some changes based on member feedback and show them that it's their community. It's part of their community because they want to help what's in their community. It's very, very natural for your gym members to want to do that and support you. So I think that's the number one thing, right? You're going to have these personal interactions with every member, but then make the community kind of come together and be your focus group and have that be what really drives how you start to think of your branding outside of the gym.
Yeah, and the great thing about measuring the sales funnel like you talked about is that when you make those changes, you can actually see real data about how that conversion process has improved over time.
Yeah. And just documenting it can really change the way the business works and the success rate. I remember we went from one-on-one intros to group intros. Our conversion rate went from in the 90s to in the 70s. And if we hadn't have been documenting that, we'd have been like, oh, these group intros are so much better. They save us a lot of time. But when you start to see the conversion rate dip and you start to do the math on those missing members, and if they're worth $3,500 a piece, lifetime value, quickly we shifted back to the one-on-ones. And yeah, it did take more time. It is more, like I said, time intensive, but it's worth a lot more money. But you can't make those decisions if you don't have good data.
You just hit on one point that I think we should talk about for a second, which is you mentioned the lifetime value. And if you're a gym owner out there who doesn't know some of your key indicators, KPIs, key performance indicators that make your business successful and make a member a good member for you, then you're missing out on a big opportunity too. Because, like I said earlier, as prospects come into your business, some of them are going to be a good fit for your gym and your community, and some of them aren't. And simply having the strategy that we're going to sign everybody up who we possibly can and grow our membership as big as we possibly can is the wrong approach to take. What you want is people who are going to come to your business, stay with your business, and then bring their friends to your business and give you tremendous lifetime value, to use the indicator that you mentioned, man.
And lifetime value is something that most owners, they don't understand, like how really important that number is. And, we actually built a calculator on the Sweat Angels website so that you could go in and put in your how much a member pays per month and really see what they're worth. And, even when the first time I did it, it kind of blew me away to realize that this guy that pays us $110 a month is worth like $3,000 lifetime value. And when you see that number, it changes the way you think about when the phone's ringing. If the phone's ringing, that's $3,000 on the phone, possibly. If somebody writes you an email, that's possibly $3,000. So those numbers are real, and they change the way you think, but you have to know what those numbers are.
And you have to know that not every member is going to be a $3,000 member, right? So how do you identify, what are the attributes of that member who stays with you and gives you that great lifetime value? And then how can you start to identify the people who are maybe coming in for the wrong reasons or without the right goals, and either help coach them to get the right goals, which will make them stickier, or recommend that they find a different fitness business, for their training.
Well, and if they do leave, it's there's still value that can come from that if you do an exit interview and understand why it wasn't a good fit. That can really inform your decisions going forward, right?
Yeah.
Well, Phil, one more question before you go. There's a lot of resources out there for anyone who wants to learn about sales and marketing for gyms. What are some of your favorite blogs, websites, resources that you might point gym owners towards?
Yeah, so for the gym owner, so my favorite sales blog out there are probably two, HubSpot and InsideSales.com, two great software companies, have terrific sales blogs, and I don't want the gym owner to get scared off by the fact that they are fairly business focused, because the principles that within them are applicable to any type of business in the world. So those are the ones I most commonly read. The other thing that I'd say is that the book that absolutely changed the way I thought entirely was called The Power of Habit. And I use that as one of my coaching tools for my team. It made me think about the things that we do as a team, the things that we do, day to day. Because the sales process can take up quite a bit of time. And how do we break some of our habits, bad habits? How do we change the way we think about selling and having conversations with potential members to create new habits that are going to serve us a lot better? So those are two things right off the bat I recommend as resources.
One thing before we leave too. It's okay to, so a lot of owners that I talk to, and you guys probably talk to as well, they think sales is a dirty word. They think marketing is a dirty word. But you're absolutely in the sales and marketing business. Unless you are training by yourself in your basement and you keep that a secret, if you are telling somebody else that you're training, then that's marketing. If you're doing any kind of outreach, it's marketing. And if you want to get more people in the door, it's marketing. And then now they're in the top of the funnel. And if you're not looking at those guys as prospects, then you're really missing the boat. And once they're a prospect and you're trying to convert them into a member, you are now in sales. So it is okay to think about those things. And some of those resources you mentioned, that book is a great book. I read that book. It's an amazing book. They really will help shape the way you think about these prospects. And it's okay to use sales tactics. They work on you, and they're really just educating people on the value. You're not trying to trick them into anything. You're doing a good job at showing your value, and if you do that, people are more than willing to pay you money for that. And that's okay. That's sales.
Yes. Yeah. Great point.
Yeah.
Phil, thanks so much for being with us today. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Appreciate it, man.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Take care. Thanks for listening today. The Gym Owner's Guide to the Galaxy was produced by Matt Sharp, Jeremy Russell, and me, John Lucian. We're publishing new episodes every 2 weeks, so make sure you don't miss a single one. Just search for Sweat Angels or The Gym Owner's Guide to the Galaxy on iTunes or SoundCloud.
We are a production of Sweat Angels, the #1 referral program for gym owners. Sweat Angels helps drive new members at your gym by combining Facebook check-ins with giving back. If you haven't heard of us, just go to causley.com/Sweat Angels or search for us on Facebook. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time on the Gym Owner's Guide to the Galaxy.